Kia ora. E hala taku I te toa. Takitahi e nangi he to takimono. My strength is not come from myself as individual, but rather the collective of us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Choi and is the Wellington branch chair for Engineering New Zealand. We have got 18 branches in New Zealand and Wellington is one of us. Welcome to this special event. So we have got a very packed tonight. So just a bit about myself. So I work at NBIE in the science investments. So as a chemical and process engineer, have been very delighted to be part of this. So it's also my privilege to be the branch chair for the last 3 years. Tonight, we have got very special guests and our president here tonight. So just to keep the event running, could we please have our cell phones on silence mode? If during the event, if I hear something, you will get a booby prize. Also, tonight's event is recorded. So that means that if you would like to refer back to it later on, you are more than welcome to do that. And also sharing this on social media. Bringing engineering to life is the vision of our organization. And underneath that, there are 4 pillars: connection, credibility, influence, and recognition. Tonight is definitely the connection pillar that we all coming here for. We're bringing people together from all around the world, and also our enduring relationship here tonight, and our special welcome to the Weltec students. Apparently, your instructors are going to take roll call. So if you did not come tonight, you might have special assignments. Welcome, Ben, our president of the organization. So Ben is this year's president. So he's a civil engineer with 25 years experience, head of commercial and major projects for Opus WSP. And I would like to welcome Ben to say a few words before we open the event.
Thank you, Kenny, and welcome everybody. It's amazing the number of people you can get into this room when you try. I'm not sure I've been to an event that is quite as well populated as this one. Hey, I just wanted to say a few words. As Kenny rightly says, there's a whole lot of work that we're doing in Engineering New Zealand around our strategy to bring engineering to life and to make engineering a popular career choice for people. And we're doing a lot of work getting young people in. But one of the things that I wanted to focus on as the president this year was to shift the dial around the diversity agenda. So last year, we started the diversity agenda and we started off with a focus on gender. And the idea was to start to shift the dial to increase the number of women in engineering by 20%. So grow it from where it is. So by 2021, grown the number of women by 20%. And we're on track to do that. So there's work that we're doing around that. But this year I wanted to shift the dial a bit. And the conversation that I wanted to have was around inclusion and around just breaking down barriers rather than focusing on different parts of diversity one at a time. Just think, well, what can we do to break down the barriers? And a clear one is around inclusion. It's around the breadth of people that want to become engineers and making Engineering New Zealand a professional home for everybody that wants to be an engineer, including those that weren't born in New Zealand, like myself. So it's fantastic to see this event. This is the 3rd event of its type that we've run in New Zealand. There's a very big one we did in Auckland as the kickoff. This is then there was Christchurch. This one, and then the last one is going to be down in Dunedin. But it's all aimed at finding out what are the challenges in terms of coming to New Zealand as an immigrant engineer, and what is it that we can do about it as a profession, as individuals, as employers, as academics. What can we do to prepare ourselves to broaden the number of people that become engineers in New Zealand. Anyway, good luck. It's going to be a great panel debate. I won't steal the thunder as to who the panel are, but it's a very impressive lineup. Over to you.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, just for housekeeping, just before we kick off the night. So for our bathrooms, so girls are just directly opposite the room here. For the boys, they are just around the staircase. So also for fire, please stay calm. And please do not use the lifts and do not use your mobile phone. So follow the Engineering New Zealand's colleagues and use the stairs, and we will be assembled outside the Fujiyami Teppanyaki restaurant just downstairs. For earthquake, please stay calm. And we will then respond by drop, cover, and hold. So, and also stay indoors until we get advised to be safe. For tsunami, please remain in the office and follow the instructions of our colleagues. So, kick off tonight. As Ben said that diversity is an important initiative for the organization. To me, this is very, very close to my heart. I myself is also an immigrant to this beautiful country. English is not my first language, and I'm still discovering every day. I was the first engineer in the family, and now I have 2 kids, which they call themselves Chiwis. So on a scale, I'm very similar to most of you. And we engineers love numbers. According to 2013 census, 25% of New Zealand people were born outside of the country. Please show your hands if you born outside of New Zealand. We also love numbers. According to 2013 census, the top most 6 common languages are English, Taleo Maori, Samoan, Hindi, Mandarin, and French. Show me your hands if you speak more than 1 language, or 1.5. More than 2. More than 3. More than 4. So for those who put their hands up for 3, may I just ask what 3 languages do you speak? What are the languages? Just let us know. Thank you. There's 3.75. Okay, another one? What languages do you, what other 3 languages do you speak? Oh.
Yeah, I speak English, Arabic.
Welcome. Another one? Thank you. Another one?
English, French, Malayalam.
Wow.
Tamil.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. And then and the lady at the back, yes? Wow, thank you. And someone here? Yeah. Wow, look at, yes? Wow, look at this. This is what our future country will look like. My superannuation depends on you. So, a special thanks to the Special Interest Group for Immigrant Engineers and the Wellington branch. Together, we're partnering to do this event. The Wellington branch, this year's theme is to partner with other associated groups. We partnered with Heritage New Zealand, IEEE, IMEC-E, and we'll be partnering more with others. So please sign up to our newsletter. And also on your way in, you also have received information about the special interest group, some of the magazines, and also other information. So please feel free to take those away with you. Event like this could not take place without generous support. So big thank you, not just to the 2 groups, but also to our presenters here tonight. So without further delay, let me introduce our spectacular panel to you. So these people really, really have diversity and inclusion in their lens, and every day they do their job via this. We have got Ms. Chen as the chair for the Special Interest Group for Immigrant Engineers, Fiona, the chief executive, Dr. Induka, Professor Alan, and Karen Ann. Please welcome. So the format of tonight is going to be very interactive. So I am going to pose some questions to them from different perspectives, whether they are employers, whether as an employee themselves, whether they were students, and also they are volunteers. And then I'm going to open up the forum to the audience. The three most beautiful questions from the audience will get a special prize from me. A selfie, no, but a special prize. Okay, so that is going to be the format. So that means there will be interactions, and that means we then open up. So according to the agenda, we will be finishing around 7:30. But if you have more questions, please stay on. So we have got these fantastic panelists here tonight. Okay, so we are going to start off with from the employer's perspective. A lot of the students here wanting to know, as a job seeker, and as an immigrant, and as the student just finishing or near finishing their tertiary education, what would be the tips for them as the immigrant engineers or international students, how they are going to approach or prepare themselves for the job interview? What tips would you give them to make a good impression during the interview? And do immigrant engineers need to be aware or keep up to date about Engineering New Zealand code, practices, and standards? To answer these three questions, I would like to invite Fiona and Karen to help us and give us some of your insights.
Okay, well, first of all, it's nice to be here and thank you for the invitation. So I'm Fiona, CEO at Prendos. We're a property consulting company and we have structural engineers, about 15, and we have architecture and design, we have fire engineering, we have building surveying, quantity surveying, we've got the works, okay? So just to give you some context, in our organisation, we employ about 20 plus different nationalities. So we've got everything from Argentinian through to French, to Asian, through Indian, you name it, we basically have it. And so we are what I would call very inclusive, and we don't genuinely see nationality before we see your skills. So we employ you for your skills and what you bring as employees and what we can bring to you as a family that you're joining. So what tips do I have for you? It is really difficult for you to stand out. It really is, particularly when you're going for your first job. But that's not unique to the people in this room. That's unique to anyone who's starting out, whether you've gone to a New Zealand school. So my advice is we use agencies a lot, recruitment agencies, but we also employ direct. So for me, if we get an application direct, don't make it just a standard form that you've sent in. Personalise your letter, personalise your CV. Check out what we do. Check out, we're not an Opus. We don't have, the 1,800 staff in New Zealand. We're a smaller, we have 120 staff. Look at the website and see what we do. Write your letter for Prendos, just for Prendos, not as though you're applying for Opus with the same CV, okay? Write a little bit about who you are. We look to see how you contribute in the engineering community. So look at, we'd be looking to see how you're contributing to this group, how you're contributing and joining the special interest group for international engineers. So how are you contributing to your own community? Write a paragraph about who you are as a person. If you've got technical skills, we're assuming that because we're looking at your CVs, you've got a degree. Who are you? What will you bring? We're wanting to see your passion. We're wanting to see your motivation. We're wanting to see what you're going to bring to us and why we're important to you on your journey. The tips I give you for a good interview, I have one main tip, and that is please smile, please make eye contact, and please shake hands firmly. Okay, you'll have probably a saying we have, which is smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors in New Zealand, if you're not familiar with it, is fake it till you make it. Okay, so when you walk in a room and you're not confident, you don't let that show. The person interviewing, for the record, might not be confident either, so never assume they know what they're doing. But you know, always go in, look them in the eye, shake hands and say, hello, it's good to see you. Okay? And bring who you are to the table, because what we're employing is you. We're not employing a robot, we're employing a person. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Karen, and I've recently joined the Harrison Grayson team in Wellington as a team leader. I come from South Africa. I've been here for exactly 2 months, so I'm very new to New Zealand and to Wellington. And I think as an employer and an employee and an immigrant, I think the things that you need to be very mindful of is that you need to do research so that you understand New Zealand, not from New Zealand perspective, but from your own perspective. So if you have a question or somebody asks you something, then you can at least say, well, this is what you've seen, or this is what you've heard, or this is how you think you can make a contribution. So I think that's very important, that you do some homework and that you think in your personal capacity what value add you can bring to New Zealand. So I think that's very important. Then make sure that you are not technology stunted. So if you're preparing for an interview and it might be a business Skype call, make sure that the way you dress, the lighting, all of that works well. So it's not a dark area and you're struggling to find a right place. So I think those things, prepare for it so that when you do sit down, you're not worried about, can they see me? Is my voice working? So all those things are important. So it calms you down and it prepares you for your journey. And then I think it's also important that when you prepare, that you understand exactly what you bring to the party in terms of your skill set, what your weak points are, what your strong points are, so that you can say, well, this, you know, you're confident, you're happy about that. This, you're probably not where you should be or could be, but you know, how do you endeavor to bring that to the party? So I think that's important. And then in terms of tips, I think it's a question of in a previous job I had, we went to a similar conference like this, and they said you need to think international, but you act locally. So it's very important that you look at what locals do and that you take on those mannerisms, because in South Africa, I have a New Zealand friend and he always used no worries. And I'm like, no worries means for me, must I be concerned? Is there something I have to worry about? Because we'll say it's fine. So I think those are things you need to be, you need to take that into consideration, and it's the small things that make a difference. I don't think you need to concern about the big things. Those are not the stumbling blocks. I think it's the small things where you're interacting and people say you're making a concerted effort to be part of the team are the things that people find welcoming and they enjoy that. At Harrison Grayson, it's been very easy to do the transition. I think in terms of experience and technical know-how, it's very similar. So it wasn't difficult from South Africa to make the transition to here. There's a lot of technical jargon that I'm working through, but it's again, it's like the previous speaker said, you make or you fake it until you make it, because sometimes you don't know, and it's a question of, I don't know, I'll get back to you, I'll let you know. So it's a question of how you deal with the situation. And then being a woman in an engineering world and being diverse, I think for me it's been wonderful. It's been an opportunity where you're not the norm, you're not the standard. So nobody really knows how to measure you. So it's up to you. You can decide your fate and your future and where you take it and how you go. And it's been a wonderful career. So that's how I see it. And it's been a wonderful journey to New Zealand and joining Harrison Grayson.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Fiona, maybe just an associated question. So you talked about some of the tips when a potential candidate comes and do the interview. Are there something else that perhaps you can share with the audience after the interview? So what we need to be aware or stand out after the interview?
Well, I think it's important, you know, that I know I keep going on about the eye contact during the interview, but it's really important to engage. If you've got 2 or 3 people, you know, keep looking at them. Don't look down, don't look up. At the end of the interview, you stand up, you shake hands. You always have some questions ready to ask. Okay, it may be that they've covered it, in which case you say, look, it's okay to take a list of questions into the interview. So could you tell me about, somebody said to me, actually one of my engineers said, the question she would ask now is, what would my first 100 days look like in your organization? And I thought, thank God she didn't ask me, because I wouldn't have known the answer. But, it is, ask a question like that. Don't be afraid to ask the organization what they're going to give back to you as well, because this is a two-way street. And so at the end of it, you shake hands, you've asked your questions, you say, I'm very interested in the role, thank you, and I look forward to the opportunity with working with you. So it's always giving that passion and that drive. New Zealanders, I think, well, for me, I tend to hire by passion, because I actually employed Kavita many years ago, I won't talk about how many, into Engineering New Zealand, which was IPENS at the time. And when I employed Kavita, the biggest thing that I got from her was passion. She absolutely loved what she did, and she was bringing her energy to the table. That's what New Zealanders are looking for. They're looking for that energy, because I can't teach you energy. I can teach you technical skills. I can help you, put you through training. I cannot teach you energy and passion. That's something that you have to have within you.
Thank you, Fiona. Okay, Karen, perhaps that's also an affiliated question. So just reflect back on the interview that you did. What would be, in your reflection, what would be the success factors that your employer got? She is the one.
I think what was important is that before the time I knew what the differences were. So in the interview, they said, remember, in South Africa, the projects are much bigger than New Zealand. So you'll have to take that into account. And I was aware of that. So I said, there's different reasons that are motivating me to come to New Zealand. So I think that was very important for them, because they were concerned that I might get bored in the role, because in South Africa, I was in a very high-powered position. And I said, no, and I made sure that I got it across that there are lifestyle reasons, there are personal reasons why I'm looking forward to making the change. So I think it's important that if there are differences, they're going to pick it up in your CV, and they're going to ask you, if you're in this situation, how would you deal with it? And I think you need to prepare. Look at your CV, look at your experience, look at where you're going, and try and preempt it, so that when you do get the question asked, that you can deal with it. And if you don't know, then you just say, well, you haven't thought about it, but if you had to deal with it, you probably would go about it in this way or that way. So I think it's important that you do prepare and make sure that you understand the distinct differences between the cultures and the countries you're going to.
Thank you. So Fiona, okay, it's just another question. So we have got many immigrant here or international engineers here. So from the employer's point of view, how would they or employees keep up to date about the New Zealand engineering code, standard, or best practices?
Well, we've brought in, we've got a team of 15 engineers, and if I think about the team, probably 10 of those come from our international engineers. And so we have to be very realistic about the fact that you don't know New Zealand building codes and standards sometimes. Probably one of the most challenging, or not the most challenging engineer, one of the engineers who's had the most challenge, believe it or not, was coming from America, because they were in imperial, not metric. So if you're thinking already in metric, you are halfway there. Okay. The other part is, the biggest part that I see for the engineers, particularly our structural engineers, is seismic. So if you have an ability to do seismic and focus on seismic, then I would encourage you to do that, because sadly for us, it's an area that we have as a clear focus. I don't think a decent employer will expect you to hit the ground running and know all of the codes, but what we've tried to do is to put some of our international engineers at all sorts of levels. Be prepared to be flexible, be prepared to continue learning, and go on as many engineering courses as you can. You know, your CPD courses are excellent. I've picked up a couple of your pamphlets there, Engineer Your Career, because we've got quite, a group of younger engineers, and they need to start on that process to go towards being chartered. Now, we have to give them the right type of work, so it's not quite that easy. But I would recommend that they do that. They do the CPD to get on their journey, because it's essential that you keep learning at whatever level you're at.
Thank you. Okay, so final question before we go into the different area. So both Karen and Fiona, from your day-to-day work life, how do you practice diversity and inclusion in your workplace?
Well, okay, I'll start. I'm often asked if we have a, excuse me, sorry, a diversion strategy or policy, and no, we don't, because we don't feel we have a need to. We have, again, 20 different nationalities. We have 7 directors and a CEO. Obviously, for the record, I'm female. We have 2 directors who are also female. We're not 50-50, but we're getting there. But they're not employed because they're women, I might say. They're employed because they're actually technically competent and very good at what they do. Okay. And while for me, I guess I had to fight my way up, and that's just a bit of a reality. If you want to be a woman, sometimes in different sectors, you have to be tough. You have to have a bit of a tough skin, and that's just the way it is. So we don't have a diversity policy, but we are diverse by nature. So it's always interesting. Kavita asked me to say about the food. If we ever have a food lunch, which is great, where people bring food from wherever they come from, it's wonderful. The spread of food that comes in. Food is a very unifying thing in an office. So, this is where people start to talk to you because, you brought something in that only you know how to make. I wouldn't know how to make it. And that's really unifying, and it shows people who you are. So in terms of diversity, I guess the only thing that I would say is that, we have quite a few South Africans, and one thing is I noticed some of them have started speaking Afrikaans, which is absolutely fine because we respect everybody's language. But interestingly, the only one common language within our office is English. So you do have to be prepared to speak English, because otherwise, you're either Afrikaans or French or Indian, whatever that nationality is, you are actually, funnily enough, somewhat excluding the rest of the office. So in terms of diversity, we don't have a blanket policy, but I do encourage our staff to please speak English, because it does exclude the rest of the people around. So English is essential. You must be able to talk confidently and fluently. You're all learning. So, you're not talking about speaking great English speakers. I can't even speak English today, but, really speaking well from day one. But English is the thing that you must concentrate on becoming confident with.
Okay, then at Harrison Grayson, what they do is on Monday afternoons, we have a shake-up. And that's about 15 to 20 minutes where we just have coffee or tea together. And then a different discipline will talk about a subject and introduce something to the company. And we also have a very active social club. So on a monthly basis, we all go out, and you can bring your family with your children. So it's very nice. It helps you to engage offline and to meet people and their spouses and their partners and their children. So it gives you some exposure to who and what they are. So I think that's very important to understand the person you interacting with. And I also agree with Fiona. In South Africa, we worked on a very big project, and we had American consultants that worked for us. And when we didn't want them to know what we were talking about, we'd speak Afrikaans, and then they'd say you're whispering because they've got no clue what we're doing. So she's definitely correct. You have to be inclusive, and I think when you are the minority, it probably takes a bit more from you to make sure that you include yourself, because it's dependent on you to be included. You can't expect other people to include you if you're not willing to be part of the team. I think that would be my advice.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to change tack. Okay, so we're going to switch to academics and also former international students. So Induka and Ellen, welcome. Induka, are all your students here tonight?
Most of them, yeah.
Okay, are there any missing ones?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so similar. Okay, so I've also got a set of questions for both of them. So when I'm going to pass the mic to you, so perhaps that we just open up. The first question, from your experience, what were the biggest challenges you faced moving to this new beautiful country and to a new tertiary institution? So perhaps that Induka and Alan, please just perhaps introduce yourself first and then.
You want to go, Induka?
Hello, I am Induka, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. I am now teaching in Wellington Institute of Technology, more formally, more better known as Weltec. My previous job in New Zealand, I was with Opus in Auckland and then with the Auckland Regional Council. So it's a mixed career, but it prepared me well to teach students who are going to industry or to government service. Then the biggest challenge here was, my previous academic background from Sri Lanka, I was teaching in the university where the cream of the country is arriving, whereas here the students' background is diverse. But now that since I know what these kids are taught at school, we can scaffold them to arrive to the standard we expect them to arrive. Yes.
Yeah, I'm Alan Brent. I'm at Victoria University of Wellington up the hill. I'm responsible for the Sustainable Energy Systems group in the Faculty of Engineering. My colleague Jim Hinckley is over here. So Jim has had experience in New Zealand and Australia and so on. So if you want to talk to and get his views later on, please do so. Yeah, so in terms of the challenges and just thinking, I've been here 2 years. I'm a chemical engineer originally, although I moved more into the engineering management space through the course of my career, and then later obviously focusing on energy systems. And I think for a person coming from elsewhere, and I know for most in the audience you're young, you're just starting with your careers, but and you guys still need to develop this, but you don't realize that if you've been in the country for many years, like I've been in South Africa, that you build up a network, and you take that for granted. When you get into a new country, then that is out the window, so you have to start a network from scratch. And that can be quite a challenge. And I guess it's much more of a challenge when you're more in a senior position, because there's more pressure on you to establish yourself within a network, more so than for most of you here. But that doesn't mean it's not important for a young professional. I think it speaks a little bit to what Fiona said earlier on. You know, if we're looking at young people, we're looking for the energy, and that you find, are they active within a network? And there are different ways that I did it. First of all, just being there and being available, that comes to the energy, and it's going to be hard work, is, as an example, within the first 3 months or so, I joined one of the technical working groups of Engineering New Zealand, which is the Sustainability Society. These technical working groups or special interest groups, they are desperately looking for more energy and hands-on, right? And they're always looking for new people to come and contribute. So within 3 months, I was on the board of that Sustainability Society. And in the course of the last 18 months, you've been doing your bit. And it exposes you to a whole lot of other people working across New Zealand. I'm part of, in the last 18 months, to host 2 conferences here. And that also exposes you to industry, exposes you to other academics across the country, other students. And then there are associations, various associations that one can join. This is really important for you to get that exposure. It gives you all the other things that have been said here, gives you understanding of what's happening in New Zealand, what the issues are. It's one thing to read it and Google it. It's another to actually speak to people and get their perspectives around certain issues. And yeah, it just prepares you for the working space. If I look at Vic Uni, Induka, I know, is being very proactive to help his students. He told me before we started. But yeah, your academics are lecturers are going to try and help you get placements within a workplace. They're going to help you with, we have an active internship at Victoria University to get you, at least as an example, summer internships, get that exposure, experience with industry. But yeah, your lecturers can only do so much. It's a lot of it is also going to be dependent on you to get out there.
Thank you. Okay, so another question. So you have been in this country for a period. So reflection could perhaps that give us an example that you felt you were very welcomed and had a good and positive experience when you first interacted with the New Zealanders.
Yeah, maybe I'll start. In my case now, coming from Sri Lanka, I have a very long name, Induka Werellagama, which many people, even in Sri Lanka, can't pronounce, let alone New Zealanders. But my colleagues at Weltec took the trouble to ask me how it is pronounced and tell it. And I was very impressed. And we have that friendship here. So I was very impressed. And maybe I'll just add one more thing. I was in Auckland 6 years. I was called. And on the first day, I wore a beanie in Weltec. My colleague came and pulled it down to cover my ears and told, this is how you wear a beanie. And it made such a big difference in my life. Now I am not called.
Yeah, I think it's been many. It's much easier being in or doing the transition in an academic environment, because academia and all over the world, but especially in New Zealand, I guess, is so diverse, as we can see an audience here. So most people, if I think about in our faculty of engineering, I think only the dean was born in New Zealand. The rest are all from elsewhere. So it's an inviting environment already. So the one thing I could recommend to any of you at undergraduate level, stick around, do a postgrad if you can. It just gives you that time to transition even further and use these other opportunities that I was mentioning earlier on. But yeah, I mean, New Zealand is a very open and inviting place. It's just been very positive. I think it goes to what Karen was saying earlier on. It will depend on yourself to make yourself inclusive and just get actively involved.
Thank you. I know that both institutions have very, very large resources available for international students. Perhaps may I just ask both of you, just give us some examples of resources that might help international engineers here in the audience to further develop our skills or networks.
Yeah, because there are resources in the list. For example, again, I'll tell a thing that really happened. One of my good students, the top of the class, he's Chinese. He got interviewed for Tauranga Council, and I think the head of department there called me for reference and asked, tell me one thing. He's a good boy. I can see from his record, all A+. Tell me one more thing why I should hire him as a development engineer. And I immediately told that engineer, this boy speaks Chinese. And all your $1 million houses, the resource consent is issued to Chinese. He can explain it to them. And I could hear him laughing on the other side of the phone. And he immediately hired that boy. And so we can tell something positive. Actually, these people bring a lot of experiences and they have to deal with people like them. And so I think that's something we can tell. Yes.
Yeah, as Kenny said, the university directs a lot of resources to assist international students. Vic has a whole international office that's there to help, at least with administrative processes and things like that. In the Faculty of Engineering, as an example, we have a pastoral service. We have a dedicated person that's just looking. He's not an engineer by undergraduate, and he was just brought in just to look after students, primarily first year and so on, just to get through the transition, but also dealing with international students. We have a dedicated postgrad person that looks at the international students. And then there are students themselves, typically tutors and so on, that you can engage with, that have already been through this experience. And I guess you guys are doing that. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of assistance out there if you just simply go and ask.
And also social media, isn't it? This is
Yes.
now,
Yep.
the social media generation. Thank you, Induka. Thank you, Helen. Okay, Joy. Joy is the advocate of the diversity and also for the special interest group. So she is the chair for the special interest group for international engineers. And she is the only panelist who had been to Auckland, Christchurch, Wellington in the Netherlands. So she knows all the answers.
I hope so.
So I'm going to ask Joy for a few questions, and then I'm going to open up for the floor. So Joy, so perhaps that maybe just do a bit of intro about yourself. But my question to you is that we have got many international students here and also international engineers here tonight. So from your perspective on reflection, how would you be giving advice or sharing your insights with them so that we are more familiar with the New Zealand culture?
Hi everyone. Is it working? Yeah. I feel honored to be here, and thank you, Engineering New Zealand and branch, and thanks everyone to be here to listen. Myself, and as an international engineer and with water background, I was a hydrologist before I came here, and then 20 years ago, and then actually I didn't know many engineers. So what I went to the University of Auckland, I did a study in the GIS, and then found a job from GHD, was city design. And since then, I've been there 15 years. Reflects what Fiona said about the passion. And the passion is really key things and what you really like to do. Although I had a 15 years experience of water engineering in China and even work on the biggest dam, Three Gorges Dam project for 5 years. But when I came here, I found the GIS that gives more passion. I can work timely. I work weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and the evenings because I love it. So the passion is really important for your career development. So I was a little bit myself. Then I'll talk about the SIGI do. And the SIGI is the special interest group for immigrant engineers, but the chair of the Auckland branch and Julian, she said, better to call international engineers. So then we try to use international engineers. This is a contact point for everyone, engineer, and from international engineer as student, and contact point on the Engineer New Zealand for the whole people and connect with us. So we do workshops for the new engineers and the students, and the workshop at least every twice a year covers how to do your CV. The CV is the first step get you to somewhere. So if the company have 100 CVs apply for, how to make your CV on top of the pile. So they pick up your CVs. When you got to pick up this shortlisted, and also we'll coach you interview skills and how to make you, those are more experienced here. And also our committee, they're all engineers from different organizations, the managers, and they're very experienced. They coach you face to face and individual coach. And so also during our workshop, and we invite people from different organizations like OPUS and from, Harrison Grace and Auckland Transport, Wellington. So they will tell you what the kind of candidate we're looking for, same as they say. So talk to them directly, just not like thinking something. It's really what they tell you. It's not only your skill, like I heard here, as like your passion about your problem-solving skills, how you unfamiliar with the company, is it fit for the culture, all of those, and we give you some tips on that. On the other hand, and if you from different because we have different and the technical group on the Engineering New Zealand, probably around 30 now, and also branch, and we're well connected. And if electrical engineer come to us and said, "Oh, who should I talk to?" Then now the industry well New Zealand, we refer to electrical engineer group, mechanical group, water group, transportation group. They're all very active. So you're being connected. And also in Auckland, we also now run some barbecue event, and come to us, and like end of June we run 20 attend, and they ask questions individually because each person, like 100 people here, have different questions. We answer according to your requirement. So if you are not part of and our CG member, welcome to register it. And we have the paper outside. Also go to search on Google, SIGINZ. You can find our website to register it. So the third one is about the what and hence and I can have is, I think we have academic here, have employee here. I'll probably talk from another angle you said from culture. As a diversity and a multicultural, New Zealand is very multicultural country, and the diversity, like the president focus on the diversity and the agenda, female kind of things. For my kind of experience and talk to all the immigrant engineers, the cultural challenging is a key point as a new international engineers and a student. When you come to a new country, and you can see so many things different, and some people scared. I saw lots of people come here in 3 months back to their own country because they think I'm not comfortable. And how to make yourself comfortable with a new culture, and make yourself feel welcomed, feel embraced. And there's some tip I call soft. And probably I already talked about the Canterbury, Dunedin already. The reason I want to call soft, because it's easy for you to remember. And you know, when you come to a new culture, stop judgment. So for example, somebody do something different from yours, you will say, no, I'm not happy with that. That's different from my culture. Stop the judgment. Because when you stop the judgment, you open your mindset, think in a different way. You think the person from India, from China, from South Africa, they grow up within their culture so long, and they have really you can see anything language, the way talk the English, they have accent, and the food, the dress, they're all different. So stop judge those kind of difference, and then observation. Use your observation skills. You observe what's the difference, ask why is difference, then you can learn something from it. So, for example, the Indian food, and people say curry, and some, oh, curry, I never had such a smell, what, like that. But when you try it, open your mind, try it, you might love it. Then becomes part of it. And then when we talk to Indian people, they can, oh, I like butter chicken. People say, oh, yes, understand. Then you feel connected. And soft, S-O-F-T. Then you can find some common ground, if. So actually the culture is different, but when up to a certain level, there are lots of common points. Everyone like to be respected, and love, generosity, and all of those, I think it doesn't matter what your culture, they're all the same. People share love, families, kids, and people like to be recognized, and all of those things, and then you connected to feel like that. T is for the trust. So New Zealand is a country people normally automatically trust you. For example, like if you buy something from a warehouse and the guarantee says within certain time period you can just return, no excuse and anything. I think from some country, for example, when I was in China, I think we cannot have that because people will think why you return and all the anything. So but now we're also changing there as well. So the trust is really the key point you get employed. So whatever you write down under your CV and whatever you say during the interview, you need to let the people think you're the person trustable. When you can feel trustable, the employee think this person I like to employ. And trust on your skill, trust your personality, trust your commitment, trust the problem-solving skills. So, but how you build the trust? Very simple things. Don't be late. For example, you go somewhere, you never know who's going to give you a job. Sometimes just around the corner, like today, I have a really interesting experience. And I offer the plane on the way to University of Victoria to meet Menji Zhang to talk about AI things, and because I'm doing digital. And the taxi driver and said, "Oh, my wife and study there." Then I said, "What do your wife do?" And my wife is a PhD student doing data analytics. Actually, I'm looking for somebody like that. So she's here now, speaks 3-4 language. You know, so you never know.
Did you
Wait.
sign the contract?
Yeah.
Good.
So
Okay.
you never know where you meet who. So that's us, like just go out, build your trust, and being connected. Then I'll say, probably share as soft. I'll share another quick 6 words. So, from my own experience and what I told to the engineers, actually lots of people came here. They lose not really confident, and they even 5-10 years, and still doing something cleaner taxi driver. I'm not to say this is not bad job, because New Zealand is pretty equal, but the main thing is what you learn, what you passionate. And if you really like to do something, it's okay. But if you want to find something you really like, you need to be brave. Put yourself out to the market. Doesn't matter how you're scaled. If you don't go out, people don't know you. If not brave enough, you still hide somewhere. Nobody can find you. The secondly is persistent. Some people think I already tried 20 interviews, 200 CVs, no success. Don't give up. Sometimes the success and give up just 1 step away. So when you like that, you have to find why. Ask why. Ask people, they're connected with engineer New Zealand and academic employees. You ask why are the 20 interview 10 was not a success? Why my CV had not a success? There must be some reason there. Then you can find the gap and improve yourself. For example, the reason is I not know the New Zealand code for something. They say, "Oh, because you're not really keen to learn." Then I can learn something, make yourself feel the gap. The third word is connected. I think everyone say here, New Zealand is a country, basically referees connection. So make yourself connected. How make yourself connected? Join New Zealand. Not only doing that, you need to attend the event and go to the group and try yourself, talk to people and employees and academics, whoever you know, talk to them. One example, and we had a workshop on the April, one of the attenders just grab one employees and found a job. And from e-campus in one of a property developer company, just as that. So if we don't reach out, being connected like that, it's quite far away. Then I'll say another 3 words as learning, because like I said, you find your gap, you learn, you make yourself flip the sentence instead. You're gonna better and better. If you can't find job, must be something. It's not really meet the requirement. So learn it and also share it. So you learn something, share things around your people, and also sharing is learning. So sharing, you're also learning from other people as well. So the most importantly, last word I want to say is connected. How to connect it? You need to do networking. So how to do the networking? Networking is the key. So the networking not necessarily says school, and you can go to different event. So many cultural event. You network with them. You never know who around the corner gonna find a job. And keep networking. Don't give up. And hope you everyone have a great future. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go open the floor. So perhaps that's just. Would you like to have a drink before we? Okay, so just briefly touch on the summary here. So our panelists has shared with us generously about their experience, and I think you have taken a lot of notes. So there are many events from many branches, particularly for Wellington. I, on an annual basis, have hosted 40, and I hope I might see you in some of those future events. So please join us. Most of them, or 85% of them, are free. So please come. Research shows us that if a decision is made by a single gender, the probability of success is 50%. If the same decision is made by a boy and a girl, the probability of success is 75%. If the same decision is made by a boy and a girl and culturally different, the probability of success is 95%. Here we are. So I'm going to open up the floor to our audience. As I said and promised, I have 3 spot prizes here. Kavita, can I ask you to be the judge? And Ben. Oh, Ben has been very busy taking notes. Okay, Ben. Okay, please be our judge for the best 3 questions. So I've got it in my bag. Okay, so we have got is the next 20 to 25 minutes to ask our very special panelists here. They are very, very hard to secure their availability and have to 5 of them. I have got in my mind at least 5 questions, but I've asked 17 already. So I'm going to give up my opportunity for you. So I have got is a mic runner, Rebecca. So please put your hand up, state your name, and then maybe ask whether you want the answers from all the panelists or a particular panelist, please. Anyone? Please.
Good night. My name is Silas. I'm from Brazil. I'm trying to stay in New Zealand and looking for jobs everywhere. I'd like to know from you guys, what do you think is the best way to look for jobs? Do you guys think applying online, maybe contacting people responsible for hiring on the companies, maybe, you know, coming for events like this? If you could help me. Thank you.
Well, I can maybe talk to that because last year I applied for a job at Harrison Grierson, beginning of the year, and I got no response. Same CV, cover letter, everything. But then during the year, I actually linked up with Immigration New Zealand. They've got a website, and they ask you very few questions. It's not pertinent, but it's pertinent to your role and what you do. And I was getting a few emails from them saying there's specific events that they think would suit my role and responsibility. So 2 things happened. I got an interview with Dana through that. And the second was there was a webinar that was hosted in Auckland. And there was a South African in the panel, and I actually linked up with him through LinkedIn. And through that link, I got the position at Harrison Grierson, the company where I wanted to work. So it was a question of reaching out, approaching somebody through media, and speaking to him over a 6-month period. And then there was a position available at Harrison Grierson that suited my skill set. And it was very easy to have that introduction. So I think it's very important, the networking. So if you can type, because it's important in New Zealand, the references that you give. So if you can meet with local people, it makes it a lot easier if there's somebody locally that can say, I know you, I've met you, and he's got something to say about you.
I would agree with that. Yeah, well said. A lot of New Zealand business is done on relationships. And so, you know, while you're meeting that taxi driver, Joy, you know, that's relationship. So, you know, you talk to everybody that you can possibly talk to, because you just, as you say, Joy, you don't know who they are. You don't know what they are. You know, I admire you because you've told me that you're looking for a job, and I've already suggested you talk to the gentleman from Opit. So I'm kind of hoping that you will talk to each other. But, you know, don't be afraid to actually ask, because that's the other thing. You can't be reticent. You can't be shy. You have to ask. You can say, I'm looking for a job in blah, 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 blah. This is my specialty. I really want to be whatever it is you want to be. New Zealanders respond, and if they don't have something themselves, they will often know someone or refer you. We use a lot of employment agencies, and part of that, we had a strategy last year of bringing a lot of people in from overseas. We brought about 15 people in, probably more at the senior level, I might say, or middle to senior, than perhaps straight out of university. But the reason for that is that New Zealand employers are often very confused by immigration. If you think it's hard, we think it's hard too. And so it's often quite challenging to take somebody who doesn't have a visa straight away, because they are, one, not sure how to do it, but two, it's going to take a long time. And regrettably, immigration is taking a significantly long time at the moment. I'm pleased to say we've just become accredited, so that's going to help us. But it's that uncertainty of, will you get the visa or not? And that's quite a hard challenge to get past. LinkedIn is a godsend, and you should all create a profile on LinkedIn. Keep it professional. This is not Facebook, right? Please make sure also that when you're posting on Facebook, please be aware that your profiles can often be found by someone who's doing a search. So be careful what you put on Facebook. You do not want a significantly unprofessional Facebook image when you're applying for a job, because a good employer will go and look. They will do some research. So don't dig a hole for yourselves. Don't make it worse for yourselves. So LinkedIn's great. We often get approached through LinkedIn. Link up with people that you don't know that are in the area. I'm happy to link up with any of you. I can't promise you a job tomorrow, but link up, because I'm connected to other people. But create a professional profile that says, I'm looking for my next opportunity. Okay, so put it out there. Say what it is. Be blunt about what it is you're looking for. Do not be shy.
Yeah, that's really important. And also, when you go to find a job, you really have to think, what's my strengths and experience? And when you go to the company to approach, you probably look at like we said at the beginning, search the company, what do they do? Even some project might be related to your work. And if you're doing some signal tower things, and then come to civil, might be different. Even better to go to the telecom or something like that. You need to really look at your skill set and the company skill set, how it fit. But some people will think and transferable skills. For example, one of my committee member, and she's an electrical engineer, but she becomes a transportation engineer and doing really well. So, but before you go that, you have to convince how you transferable skill. You do something different, make sure people still comes to trust you. You can add the value for the company. For when the company hire you, and the company think, why should I hire you? Basically, you bring the value to the company. Then your question is said, how? Like they said, build a LinkedIn. All the people gonna check LinkedIn. Might be you connect with some people. When you connect with people, don't just connect it. Say something about yourself, and the people will look at your introduction, then decide if you connect you. Some people, even from anywhere, just collect it. I think some people ignore it because I don't know who the person. So do some introduction, and also accept those open vacancy position. Like a current, you keep it connected, networking. Even they don't have position now, but if you connect someone with a company, when the position coming, they let you know the first instance. They will be there. So keep it connected, keep looking, and sometimes even you brave, go with the company and talk to someone, the company, and some people even go put one of lady and the need and put it in the reception and find the job. So there are many ways. And one of our person from our workshop, he's the electrical engineer, and he said he sent 100 CV out, no reply. And one day he said, I'm not going to do that. So he searched the companies on the website, select 10 of them, go to knock on the door. One by one, one by one, one by one. One success. So the basically is how you motivated, how you can the passion, and how you get into it to make yourself. Sometimes don't talk too much and say things is really meaning, don't oversell yourself, and make sure they trust you. That's my advice.
Thank you. Induka?
Maybe I'll just add, I agree with all three ladies, what they said. And one of my bragging points is usually Weltec students get employed before they graduate. But that has to be engineered. So I'll tell what the advice I give my students. One thing I find very much strongly supports you is having a New Zealand driver's license. So many of the students have permission to drive 1 year. So I have already told this in classes. At the first possible opportunity, convert to New Zealand license. That will hold you in good stead. And like Fiona told, employers want to know how many hours you can work. So I have told this in classes. So your CV should read like your name, phone number and email, visa status, I have a license. These 4 things, and then you are on your way.
Just another thing. I mean, we receive virtually daily now. We receive emails for people that's looking for positions, normally PhDs and so on. But it's a position, right? Like any employment, really. And as was said earlier, so I mean, it is an English-speaking country, right? So that's your first point of contact is email. Now, most of those emails are constructed terribly. Yeah. I mean, an email is a letter, so it's not, hi there, I'm here and cool, and like shit, what am I supposed to do there? So just be very, very careful how you formulate that. I mean, it says a lot about how the person in terms of their passion, about, but it's also about, are you able to communicate in English? I mean, that's important.
Thank you. Okay, second question. Please, Andrew.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you, Engineering New Zealand, for giving this wonderful platform so that we can directly interact with the academic as well as with the employers. My name is Vikas. I'm doing masters from Victoria, and my question is to Fiamma. Basically, is a lot of like when we are interacting in the academic environment, they're talking about that employers are looking for the people who can fit well in the team. So team fit and the behavior around is something very crucial and very scary as well. Like if we even do have a good technical skills, but if say the team fit is, the person is not good team fit, or the behavior is not matching to the company vision and mission, how do we going to address this issue, and what we need to gain during our academic time, so that we can, once we go to the industry, we are ready to hit the ground. Thank you.
The question is, how do we sell soft skills?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. And, I think last year we probably interviewed 25, maybe 30 people, mainly on Skype interviews. And they're really challenging because they're not face-to-face, and you'll understand this. And you have 1 hour. And then what Prendos likes to do is at the end of an hour go, yeah, that's great. Well, would you like the job, and when can you arrive? We're trying to stop doing that because it's a bit of a faulty strategy. But the soft skills is quite challenging. And I wasn't joking when I'm saying eye contact, smile, you've presented yourself well. That was a great question. You've given it context. You've paid a bit of respect. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but, you've said who you are. That shows me a lot about you. I think sometimes you might like to look at it. We have a woman structural engineer. You have to decide for yourself whether you want to work for a woman structural engineer, because culturally sometimes that can be a challenge. I don't know whether I'm putting that quite right, but I think you'll know what I mean by that, because that's who we are. We're a very robust organisation, and we talk quite bluntly to each other. The niceties tend to go out the way. It's kind of instructions. You have to be confident about doing that. But I don't think we're asking you to come in and leave your personality and your culture and your race or what nationality on the side. You don't leave it at the door. We don't want you to be vanilla. We don't want you to come in and we want you to bring who you are. We want you to bring the personality, your different focus, your different backgrounds, your different experiences, because that's what is representative of our client base. Our clients are exactly that. So why would we not want staff who are representative of that? I'm not sure that I'm answering your question well enough, but I would say as an employer, and I've employed a lot of people, every so often I get them wrong. Every so often I get them wrong. Take away the every so often. And you know, it's your gut instinct. Okay, your gut instinct is, does it feel right? Now, for us, and it might be the same for Opus, I suspect, you know, we are professional consulting company, so a lot of it is a focus on billable hours. Okay, so you are expected to do X percentage of your week as billable. That can be very challenging, particularly for your first job, because it's quite a harsh environment in many ways. It means that you've got to be productive. And when I say, you know, that we expect you to be doing billable, when you come in, no, we don't expect you to be as fully billable as somebody perhaps at your level with senior leading a team, etc. But, you know, that is the focus. And I think that's part of something you should ask yourselves. What type of environment do you want to work in? Professional services are driven by, you know, what we're charging to the client. It's usually on an hourly basis. It's productivity. You know, we don't like to rework work because we have to pass that cost on or absorb it. All of those environments, you know, would you be better in an academic environment where you can continue studies, whatever? Would you be better off in another organisation? I don't know what it might be, but New Zealand Rail or somewhere, you know, where you're not having to bill out in the same way. So some of that is about you thinking about the environment. You do not have to accept the job. Have the courage not to accept the job if your gut instinct is saying, I won't be happy here.
Yeah, so
but we all get it wrong occasionally. That's the other thing.
The culture comes to culture. Basically, you said the team player and the behavior and the academic. But from company, each company, they have their own and a culture. So before you apply for the company, look at the website, see what the culture is. For example, our company GHD, we have respect, integrity, teamwork, and safety. So then how you demonstrate your teamwork, be a good listener, listen well. And when you go to the company, the senior let you do things, don't rush. Listen well, clearly understand what's the scope. Then we reduce a mistake. If you rush, don't listen carefully, clearly, do something wrong, have rework, give the wrong impression. As a teamwork, and when you work with someone, share with someone and learn from any other people. And also, when you achieve something, share your credit with other people. Don't take all the credit. If even your work are do most and something, you always get advice from someone. People said, you do a great job. You can say it's a teamwork because this person contribute. Make yourself very different. And also communication skills as key. When you find somebody do things not really right, don't say you do something wrong. I found someone like that and make the people very unhappy. You can say differently. You said this might be another better way to do it. You know, this is really communication skills. So that's the university going to teach them the teamwork and the behavior. That's really good way to do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, another question from the audience. The lady at the back.
Hi, I'm Fatima. Just like to ask a small question. Let's assume that I was a success in the job, and how to be successful in the first 90 days, especially with a lot of challenge and learning software and new languages, programming languages, and things like that.
Well, I think yes, for me, I think in those 90 days, it's being willing to watch and learn. Be willing to be as open as possible to the new experiences. Again, we've employed some people at very senior levels who have come in and gone, but I know how to do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. And it doesn't work because you get this tension that it's created by, this thinking that, well, I did it very successfully in my last job, therefore it works. I think, you made the point that when you come here, you often don't know anyone, you don't have networks, you often don't know what you're doing, and no offense, because actually we have a thing called the Prendos way. We've yet to write down what that is for the record, but we all know it, but in theory. So, we kind of have a way of doing it. So my advice is to watch and learn and ask questions, but don't over ask the questions. And I know that's a difficult one, but don't annoy by keep asking the questions. Write down, ask the question and then make the note so you don't have to keep going back. But be prepared to go, I need to learn how the employer wants me to do it, rather than this is what I know and this is how it should be because I think I'm right. Okay, the employer, right or wrong, will have a way of doing it. Now, they may not be right, and there is room for improvement. Don't, in the first 90 days, start offering those suggestions for improvement. Just give it a little bit of time to build up your credibility, your relationships in the organisation, and let people understand and know who you are. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. Oh. And I think it's also observation, because you might find that some people you're more comfortable to confide in. So I think that's also very important, that in the first week observe and see who you are very comfortable with and link in with them, have some conversations so that you also can settle in, because there's a lot of nervous energy that you need to deal with when you join a new organization, because you're the new one, you're the odd one out. So it's imperative that you figure that out, to see who helps you to calm down and take the time to build those relationships, because it's, as Fiona says, the first 90 days are not expecting wonders and that you must know the job, but they're going to expect you to settle in, and they're going to be watching how you interact with your team members and your colleagues. So it's very important that you look at that. I think those are the things you need to
and can I say that thing of asking questions? Some nationalities we find are reluctant to ask questions because they think it's making a mistake, or they're showing that they don't know, or they're letting their employer down. That is not true. Particularly in an environment where professional services, where we're charging on, you are much better to ask the question than to keep going, and then at the end of the job we go, oh God, we've got to rework it. That doesn't say much about us either, by the way, and this is what I mean by, if the employer's not right for you, think carefully too, because we as employers need to be supporting you and giving you clear instructions and clear objectives for what it is we're asking you to do. But sometimes those instructions get lost in the mix.
Okay, anything else from the panelists? Okay, so another question from the audience here.
Hi, my name is Vichesh Ravindran. I'm coming from India. So I completed my bachelor's in 2017 in civil engineering. So I'm actually studying in Weltec Engineering College. So I'm doing structural engineering right now. So I've been in Wellington for like 3 weeks now. So every week I'm having some difficulties. The first week, climate was a difficulty. Second week, and still now I'm shivering, not because I'm tensed, but it's a bit cold. So this is my second week, class started. So the things that's been taught right now is much different from what we have been studying in India. So that's a difficulty. And the third part, this is the third week, right? So I have a difficulty right now. This is to find a part-time job. So I talked with my tutors. So what they were saying that you need to be getting a part-time job in your core job. Since I'm civil engineering, so I need to be getting a part-time job in civil engineering, right? So I'm asking, I have classes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So the free days are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So is there any availability of any part-time jobs as such in any companies? Do they hire people for that? I have a doubt, because one thing is that to get a job here, you always need experience, right? So to get experience, you need to have a job, right? So it's so is there any opportunities, or do they have any availabilities in any companies for hiring part-timers in core structures? So is there any? That's my question.
Thank you. The question is,
yes, could he have a job? Yeah.
Part-time job.
Will he get a part-time job 24/7?
Well, first of all, congratulations on asking the question and stepping forward. I applaud you for that. Secondly, if you give me your details, I'll ask the question. But I do have to caution, unfortunately, in our Wellington office, we don't have structural engineering. And one of the issues is that for you to be supervised and to be able to learn something, we would need to be able to support you. However, if you see me, I'll give you my card and you can email me and I'll ask the question for you. And well done on asking. Thank you.
from the panelists?
Maybe I'll answer on that being cold part because I
Wear your beanie correctly.
yeah, already I told wear your beanie to cover your ears. And also one trick is if you Google Wellington weather, you will see the screen and scroll down at the last part. They say how many layers to wear. That is for kiwis. I wear one more than that.
So double the numbers.
Yeah.
One more than
Oh, okay, +1.
three. I wear 4.
Okay, +1. Okay. Any other tips?
Well, I don't know where you're studying, but at least at Vic Uni, it's a matter of keeping your eyes a little bit open. So we have research assistant type of positions, which are contract positions. And for instance, we have students at the moment that are studying full time, but they have a project that they're working on. For instance, 1 or 2 days a week or so. So depending on which institution you are, those kind of opportunities come up.
Thank you. Okay, another question from the audience. Please.
Good evening. My name is Max. I'm from Russia. And right now I'm studying in Weltec on graduate diploma in structures. Yeah, so my question is, when I came here in New Zealand, I learned a new term for me. It's overqualified. What does it mean? Can you tell me? Because, for example, I have already experience in Russia, yeah. And when I came here, people told me that, and still telling me, that you're overqualified, you can't find a job, for example, like a drafter. But I have no experience here. What should I do? Yeah, because I need a local experience to get better job. Yeah, because I can't be like a senior structural engineer as I was in Russia. Can you just explain me that term? How do you understand it?
Oh, I'm getting all the good questions, aren't I? Okay. I think it's an unfortunate term because what it does is it doesn't completely respect the qualifications you've had. Okay. I don't know, Engineering New Zealand might tell me whether there is equivalency in your qualification from Russia to New Zealand. I suspect not. I don't know whether it's covered under the Dublin and Washington Accords. I don't know. You'd need to double check that. If you can get some form of recognition, you could argue that one. I think that the thing is you've got to make sure that you write in your letter that you are willing to drop back, because unfortunately you will have to drop back. I'm sorry. And you know that because you haven't got New Zealand, but also you may, I don't know, do you have seismic coming from Russia? I don't know. You do? Do you have earthquakes in Russia? Sorry. Right. Sorry. Okay. Well, there you go. So what you need to do is pick out those things, okay, and say that you acknowledge that while you were a senior structural engineer in Russia, you are wanting to start your career in New Zealand and you are willing to start at the bottom and build yourself up. Because immediately what that will tell an employer is that you're flexible, that you acknowledge that while you have got very good experience, it's not New Zealand relevant or directly applicable, but then your job is to tell them what you did in Russia that actually is the same. So if you've done seismic, tell them that. We employed an American engineer out of God, I can't remember where it was. It starts with an O. Anyway, whatever. And she had done seismic. So that was why we employed her. So tell them that you're willing to start at the bottom. Tell them that you know you're going to have to translate. Talk about your transferable knowledge and skills. Okay. Any good employer will look at that and go, wow, we might have a gold mine here, because actually we give him 6 months, 12 months, and he's going to be a really good senior engineer. And we may not be paying him as much as a senior engineer. I mean, reality, or be, so put in your CV. So what they talk about is removing the argument. Okay. So by writing it into your letter, you've removed the argument. Oh no, this guy looks too senior. Remove it by answering the question. You know that you're going to do this and you're willing to start at the bottom.
I'll go one better.
Yeah,
He can come and see us on Monday when my office manager is back, because we're looking for a senior structural engineer.
There you go.
Yahoo! Okay.
Oh, great.
Oh my gosh, you have a queue.
Actually, like Fiona said, is one, even you got the interview, still ask you, are you able to lead senior engineer team on the like the junior here. So there's few things have to consider about it. You know, like you have experience, come here, totally different. You need see if there's any difference between like Fiona said, Russia and New Zealand. Then secondly, grab any opportunities and get a foot in. One of our workshop, and there's a engineer from Iran, and he's very senior project manager, and he couldn't find a job, so he went to University of Auckland to study, and through one of our committee member, and referred to our company and said we have a Choi, so put him on the internship. He's so senior, he accepted internship position. Only 2 months become permanent, and another few months becomes senior. So people needed you to prove you're able to do the work. So the guy now is managing millions project at Gold City Council. So only like less than 5 years. So really depends how you approach, put your step in. So it's a chicken and egg. People say that the local experience, and you got the local, how you get the local experience is the first step. Without the local, people said, how can hire you? How to convince the people you're able to do the work. That's the key. So that guy is from only like 5 years up to now. And I went to Dunedin. One of our colleagues told me he's a project manager and go in Invercargill nearby and manage millions infrastructure project. So you know that's a he, because he has a capability. Put a step in, prove it, like that.
I have to say one of the things you'll face is that employers will think you're going to use them as a stepping stone. So the minute that you get your confidence and that you get, you know, 6 to 12 months, you'll be gone, right? So I've got some really senior managers. They're not engineers, but in our other disciplines that I brought in, and some of their experiences outstrip what we can offer them or the challenges they'll face. And I think it was what you were saying. The jobs are smaller. They're not the multi-million-dollar jobs. They're the smaller. They might be the $4 million job. And I say to them, so why are you still here? What's the thing that brings you? They're there for the lifestyle. They're there because actually moving country. I moved from Wellington to Auckland. That was stressful enough. But moving country, you know, the Russian culture to New Zealand culture is probably completely different. Not, unfortunately, never been to Russia, but you know what I mean. So I think if you sell that to them, that's part of why you're here, that you're not looking for that same senior position. You have actively chosen to come to New Zealand. You want the lifestyle. You want, if you know, again, remove the question, put all of that in your letter so that they go, oh, well, there goes that argument because I won't employ him because he might be off. You put in your letter, I want to be with an employer for a long time, build my career with them and show loyalty to the employer. You know, it's the language, it's the words you're using. But it sounds like you might be in.
Very brave.
Thank you. Okay,
so brave
so
people today.
Thank you. Okay, so shall we just put our hands together for those people who asked questions? So, okay, for those who asked questions, may I please ask you to stand up one more time? Ben, you will be busy. Please tell us.
I'll switch it on the wall trick. Wow, what an amazing group of questions. Am I supposed to do this in reverse order or any order? Okay, any order. Wow. I'm going to go that in the third place. I actually quite like this overqualified question. I thought that was quite an interesting one. I get the question, certainly. I don't struggle with being overqualified myself, so that's not my problem. But our colleague Max, wasn't it? Max, thank you. Oh, got it. I get to give it. Okay, second. Ooh. So the big one for me, the second one for me was relatively easy, and that was the soft skills questions. So I forget your name. What was it? Vikas. The soft skill questions. I think that the way the panel responded to it is clearly right. As an employer myself and sitting in the same consulting world, you do have to be very clear about what it is you want to do. So if you want to be a consultant, there are a lot of companies out there. If you don't want to be a consultant, there's a lot of companies out there. Just choose the one you want to do. Choose the company that the values fit you. Because if you go somewhere the values don't, you're going to hate it. So yeah, congratulations, number 2. Okay, number 1. Ooh. Okay, the number 1, that was really easy. It was the 90-day question. I thought that was a brilliant question. So what do you do in your first 90 days? I think one thing that struck me is that the assumption that you shouldn't ever make a mistake. You will make mistakes. Your employer is expecting you to make mistakes. Do not have a fear of that. It's a really important thing that you ask questions, as the panel talked about. That is really, really critical. Ask the questions. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. You know, we all make mistakes. We're all human beings. Don't sweat that stuff. Yeah, those first few days, listening, finding out the way that it's done in the company that's done it in, all that stuff. Fantastic advice from the panel. But anyway, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, the last 2. There's only 3 pairs. So.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ben. Okay, so this concludes the event. So shall we just put our hands together one more time for the great panelists? Thank you, Karen, Induka, Fiona, Ellen, Choi, and our president, Ben. Thank you very much. Okay, so also just to do a bit of a plug, future branch activities. As I said that this branch is very active. We partner with a number of affiliated organizations and also the young professional engineers and the students. Upcoming events. We have got is with the sustainability group on the 4th of September. We are going together in Wellington CBD at 4:30. And we're going to walk around Wellington following the water pipeline. And 6:30, gathered as a social event somewhere in CBD. The next one is also coming up is with the IEEE. That is a breakfast session that we have invited the chorus group manager to talk about what is rural 4G means. So it's a lot of these opportunities. Please join us. Also, finally, this event has been put in by a number of people behind the scene. You think I am the one? No, I've given these notes. The people who are busy behind the scene are our engineering New Zealand colleagues here. Shall we just put our hands together to them? They started their day job since 8:30 today and is still here. Thank you very much. So this concludes the formal part of the event, and I'm sure the 5 panelists and Ben will have plenty of LinkedIn invitations tonight. Your outreach will probably be 500 plus, and you might be on a premium membership. But please stay on and have conversations, or if you have an opportunity and wanting to approach one of our panelists, please feel free. And we're planning to have more pamphlets out by Rebecca, so she's going to give out more, and also feel free to stay on. Thank you very much.